All right, it's a beautiful picture there on the right side. As you see, the country is this picture shows the country is a very mountainous country that has a lot of mountains terrains in the country. The entire country has about 10 million people. It's about the size of Tajikistan that Gina did last time and Greece. So it's not that a huge country. Um, Among the entire population, about 96.9% is reported as Muslim. So the country has a heavy Islam population. Among those countries, so of the remainder of 3.1%, other than other than Muslims, there are there are about 280,000 Christians there. So if we think about that population ratio, it's about 3% of the entire population. However, if you think about among those 3% of the Christians, you may think that this is a large number compared to other countries that we have discovered so far. However, um, most of those Christians are actually from they have the root from Eastern Orthodox, so Russian Orthodox from Soviet Union era. So which means uh, their way of worshiping might be a little bit different compared to Protestants and others. So if you really look deep inside of the number of the 3%, there are about very couple thousands of house church Christians, Protestants, evangelical churches. So the num so I want to encourage you guys, do not be misled by the 3% number because it seems large compared to other countries. So moving on, there are a couple prayer points for this amazing country, Azerbaijan. Uh, so persecution is is there. Um, Sometimes we think as we live it, sometimes we have different experiences of life. Some may have lived in a very harsh environment for their faith. Some may have not. However, this country has uh, very persecution for believing Jesus. So there, you could go to prison, or your family can be in danger if your neighbor finds out that you are believing in Jesus Christ, because it's against their norm and their identity. Um, and also, for that, we need to pray for the government of Azerbaijan to ease the restrictions for missionaries and pastors. Like I briefly said before, the country has a couple thousands of Christians. However, it is very difficult to get a church registration in order to worship Jesus freely. So, because there are very strict restrictions and guidelines to set up a church, there are many home churches, house churches there. Um, but even for the house churches, the missionaries and the pastors have a very hard time because um, the the house churches are essentially against the law according to Azerbaijan's law. So we need to pray for the government of Azerbaijan to ease the restriction. Also, another prayer point is pray for local church leaders to stand firm in the faith. It is kind of the same idea that I just talked about, that it is difficult to stand firm on faith uh, when you're getting a lot of persecutions, when you're facing oppressions and the opposite ideas from the government or from the law enforcement. You can be very discouraged because you can be seen that you are wrong. But remember that we need to look at ourselves through God's eyes, according to the Bible. So in order for them to stand firm in the faith, just like what we just learned from um, Miss Miss Julie's lecture today, that we need to pray for them. Intercessory prayer is most needed, more needed than any other places in here. So for this for these prayer points, I think Parsa is ready. If Parsa is ready for pray. Parsa, are you there?
Yes.
Do you mind praying for these couple prayer points for Azerbaijan?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let me pray Persian. Okay, فارسی. خداوند شکرت مرسی به خاطر امروز به خاطر این ساعت. میخوام اینجوری دعا کنم خداوند که همونجوری که تو کلامت هست خداوند میگه که هر کشوری نسبت به قدرتش، نسبت به ارتشش، نسبت به اون تکنولوژی که داره اقدام به هر قدرتی میکنه. ولی امروز خداوند ما اینجا جمع شدیم به قوت نام تو که قوی‌تر، قدرتمندتر از هر نامی است خداوند، قدرتمندتر و قوی‌تر از هر چیزی، از هر تکنولوژی هست. و در نام تو خداوند جمع شدیم و در نام تو میطلبیم برای این کشور خداوند که میخوایم آرامش تو خداوند، قوت تو، نجات تو خداوند و روزافزون در این کشور نمایان بشه خداوند. تو خودت خداوند در این کشور کار کن و درها رو باز کنه خداوند. اون پستی بلندی ها، اون جفاهایی که در این کشور هست خداوند، تو هر روزه خداوند اون رو هموار کن، باز کنه خداوند، و تو راهروی خداوند، تو رهبر این کشور باش خداوند، و تو تک تک اون عزیزانی که سران این کشور رو تو خداوند تک تک ملاقات کن و قلب اونها رو خداوند لمس کن. امروز در نام تو، در نام پرجلال و قدرتمند تو طلبیدم خداوند، در نام تو عیسی مسیح. آمین.
Amen. Thank you for your prayer, Parsa. So let's moving on. So the next slide is about the perception of Christianity change. I briefly talked about in the last slides, but we need to understand how Azeri, that's what they're called. So how Azeri people are regarded, have what kind of identity that they have for themselves, right? So the Azerbaijan government is now moving toward nationalism. What that means is strong identity of Azeri is now being built. That's the direction that the entire country is now heading to. So on that note, trying to set Islam as their core identity is one of their agenda. It is also can be seen in other adjacent countries like Turkey that that you are Turkish, then it is kind of automatic to think that you're Muslim because it is the majority. So in here, if you're Azeri, then you got to be Muslim. You got to believe in Islam. You got to believe in Allah. So which means if you have a friend who is also Azeri, but who wants to seek the truth by believing in Jesus Christ, you may seem as a traitor. And that's a big thing. If you live in a community and you are seen as a traitor, you're seen as not one of us, you're seen as an outcast, you're seen as a outsider, that's a very hard situation that you can live on. You might feel very lonely, you might feel that you're doing something wrong, you might feel that there's nobody who's around me. But that's the time that those Azeri who want to believe in Jesus Christ need prayers from others, or maybe from people who may have never met each other, just like us. I think that's the beautiful thing and amazing thing about intercessory prayer, that even though we have never met each other, God has connected us through the prayers in Him. So it's an amazing thing. So in here, like Ulfa, right? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I heard you are ready for praying for this slide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
يا رب أبانا اللي في السماء، يا رب نحب نشكرك يا رب على البلاد هذه، نشكرك على البلايص المختلفة يا رب واللغات المختلفة يا رب والناس المختلفين يا رب اللي يعبدوك ويسبحوك كل يوم. يا رب نصلي من أجل الحكومة بالذات متاع أذربيجان، إنك يا رب أنت تقود يا رب الحكام الكل واللي عندهم السلطة في البلاد هذه، وإنه يا رب البلاد هذه تكون بلاد الناس الكل، وإنه اسمك يعلى والأوتوريتي متاع اسمك والمؤمنين بيك يا رب يعلى يا رب فوق كل اسم آخر وفوق كل سلطة أخرى يا رب. يا رب نصلي إنك أنت تعضد وتقوي الكنايس البيتية في البلاد هذه، ويكون لك أنت الكلمة الأخرى يا رب في كل قرار يا رب من السلطة، وفي كل قرار يا رب يتم اتخاذه. يا رب بارك البلاد وبارك الناس وبارك القادة متاع الكنايس، وأعطي ثبات يا رب أكثر فيك، في اسم يسوع آمين. آمين.
Amen. Thank you for your prayer. So moving to the next slide. So the next slide is about more Azeri to believe. As we just learned about the country, there are not that many Christians in the country, although it is reported that there are 3% of the Christians among the entire population. Not the entire 3% may not be believing in the real Jesus Christ. They might be still believing in some rituals, really like a religions that they might not have really sought the truth. So we need to really pray for the Azeris and for their Christians, for their faith, for their present and future. That that even though there can be some hardships and temptations and trials, that they can still walk with Jesus, walk with Holy Spirit. So we need to pray for that. So the next prayer point is pray for the unity within Azeri House Church leaders. One thing that I found while I was researching the country was that even though there are not that many Azeri House Church leaders in house churches, even though the number is very small, even amongst those small number of house churches, they are not very unified in their belief. And as you may know, sometimes community in Jesus Christ, right? It is what the Bible has encouraged. It is what Jesus has encouraged in the Bible, and especially in this environment that there are a lot of legal enforcements against my faith. It is important to be united and strong in amongst the church leaders. But I think because there are a very little number of Christians compared to the entire population, and even amongst them, they don't have any information about who lives where, right? So even it is very difficult to know and to find about your fellow believers to stand firm together. So we need to pray for the unity within the Azeri House Church leaders. The third prayer point is pray for God to show miracles and dreams so people can come to know Jesus Christ and share the gospel. Again, when I went to Turkey about 11 years ago, I also have that. at that time I never felt about miracles and dreams and the supernatural powers of Jesus Christ and Holy Spirit that the Bible explained. It never actually really lived in me vividly. But that doesn't mean that they don't exist, right? They exist, and I have experienced, and I hope that supernatural power that supersedes our ability, our natural understanding, and that will work within the Azeri people. If we are not physically able to go there and help them, we should pray for God and His Holy Spirit to directly go to them and to show them the visions and miracles so that they can have strong faith. They can realize that they are not alone. So I believe it is very important for us to pray for them because by God's grace that we are living in a country that we can share the gospel, we can read the Bible without any fear of repercussion. But some people don't. Some people don't have the freedom. Some people don't have the freedom from the fear. So if we can pray for them, if we can pray for God to show miracles and dreams in every Azeri's heart, in every Azeri people's mind, that's the most wonderful thing that we can pray for them. So I believe this part. Sorry, I don't have the names with me. Was it Hyungyu or?
Yes, it's me, Hangyu.
Yes. Hangyu, sorry about that. If you can pray for the slide in Korean,
yes.
it would be wonderful.
Yes. 하나님, 이렇게 또 아제르바이잔 사람들을 위해서 기도할 수 있게 해주셔서 감사드립니다. 우리 그동안 몰랐지만 이곳에 그런 하우스 처치들이 있고 또 아주 소수지만 그 사람들이 예수님을 믿고 또 복음을 전하고 있습니다. 하나님, 이 하우스 처치 리더들이 한마음 한뜻이 되어서 같이 기도하고 또 하나님 말씀을 나누고 하는 가운데 하나님께서 또 기적과 또 환상과 또 그 말씀들로 인도해 주시고 정말 이 나라에 하나님 말씀이 자유롭게 선포되고 하나님 찬양을 자유롭게 할 수 있고 또 이 나라에 많은 불쌍한 영혼들이 예수님께 대해서 듣고 주님께로 돌아올 수 있는 그런 놀라운 역사가 일어날 수 있게 인도해 주시옵소서. 예수님 이름으로 기도드립니다. 아멘.
Amen. Thank you for your prayer. And that's it. That's all I have for Azerbaijan. Thank you for staying with me and thank you for praying for this country together.